Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kenny Conversation, brought to you by Jegs, the leader in high performance aftermarket car parts. Remember to go to jegs.com for anything you need to fix your everyday vehicle up or even your hot rod. Well, you are looking at the man of the last 2 weeks. If you include Pomona and Vegas, I call him the great Tony Stewart. How you doing, Tony?
I'm good, friend. I'm a little bit sleep deprived from Sunday night, but not for the reasons that we all would think. We had to go to Texas to a close friend's funeral on Monday morning. But yeah, dude, I'm riding a high here for sure. To knock down a top fuel win was pretty badass this weekend.
And Tony, I prepared last night, and I have that in my notes. We'll get to that. I'm so sorry. It was a tough weekend, like you said, in Victory Lane. But let's start right here, my friend. Tony Stewart, we are celebrating our 100th Kenny Conversation right now. And you, my friend, you helped us get going. You were the very first Kenny Conversation right at 2 years ago. So I just want to let you know, Charlie's going to put a big 100, and thank you for doing this.
No, glad to. Man, I thought after show 2 they'd have canceled you a long time ago. So just the hundreds of milestone, bud. This is big. This is huge.
I'm a little much, Tony. You know, I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, Herman, would you shut up? My God.
Well, you can't help it. You have too many voices of yourself in your head. That's the problem. You're constantly having a Kenny Conversation 24/7 just with yourself.
You know, this reminds me of my good friend Don Schoenfeld, the Schoenfeld family. They build headers, and I heard that Don would have a little tape recorder next to his bed, and anytime he thought of something, he'd talk into the tape recorder, and that's where my brain is. I'm constantly thinking, you know. But all right, man, you know, I feel lucky because I called you a week ago and I said, "Can we just talk?" And so my timing's right. You win your first ever NHRA Wally in the big division, top fuel. Now we know you won the one in alcohol. What does it feel like 2 days later to win on the biggest form in NHRA?
You know, the thing that everybody's going to expect out of this answer is what it felt like to me to win that. And it was a big deal for me. But honestly, and something you're going to appreciate and understand is it brought me back to 2009 all over again. It brought me back to the first race that Stewart Haas Racing won together at the All-Star race at Charlotte. To stand there in Victory Lane and sit there and look, you know, and you remember back in that day, they used to bring this semi-trailer, this flatbed trailer out and put the stuff on top of it. And the crew guys would sit on the edge of it and hang their legs over it and all that. And I remember being at Charlotte in 2009 and having a bunch of the crew guys crying sitting on the edge of that trailer. And I'm like, what is wrong with everybody? And one of the guys told me, they said, those guys have never won a cup race. They've been with Haas this whole time and never even came close to winning a cup race. And it just was the culmination of all of it. And Sunday, when I crossed that line and you look for a single light bulb that's about this big that sits on the edge of the wall. And it's a little more confusing at the four wide because at the end of the track, there is no divider between the 4 lanes. It's just open. But during the run, there's a divider between lanes 2 and 3. So visually, it looks like a 2 wide deal, but you know you're running a 4 wide race. But you get down there, and so for the left 2 lanes, they're looking for that same bulb, and the right 2 lanes are looking for the bulb on the right side wall. And if you win in lane 1, it flashes. So, and we're going by it so fast, you don't get a chance to see it flash because you just see it and that's it. So I saw the light come on, but I didn't know whose lane it was. I didn't know if it was myself or Justin Ashley who was in lane 2. But Leah taught me a little pro hack and a tip. She goes, if you don't know whether you won or not, there's always a camera at the top end on a scaffold at the top end of the racetrack. And she goes, the closer you get to that, if it's following you, you won. If it's following the other guy, they won. So we're slowing down, you know, the parachutes and the shutdown area is uphill at Vegas. And I'm going uphill and I'm getting slower and I'm getting closer to it. And I said, I think the camera's on me. So I'm like, I think we won this thing. So when you come around the corner to where they stop you and get you out, and safety safari unhooks your head and neck deal and all that, they always leave the winner to the inside. And that there was a big gaping hole there, and they're pointing me over to it. So I knew at that point we won. But man, it was such a cool feeling just to finally get the monkey off our back and not have to answer questions. Are we, or when are we going to win a race, and this and that? It didn't take much time. I mean, I did the Fox interview and for FS1, and at the end of it, the three crew guys that drive to the top end to get the car and start the teardown process, they got up there, and one of them about tackled me on the ground.
I was going to say he attacked you.
He had mass and he had inertia too. He had a lot of inertia going there. So, but when that happened, honestly, it took me back to 2009 to that All-Star race, and some of those guys have won races before, but what I didn't realize is just how much pressure the entire team was holding on their shoulders of trying to get me our first win. I mean, they've won with Leah, with this team and everything, but they hadn't won with me yet. And I just truly did not realize. I know for the crew chiefs, it's that way because the crew chiefs are the bulk of the equation in drag racing. But I didn't realize how much weight the crew guys were carrying. And in that moment, I finally realized it. So as much as I want to tell you about how cool it is for me, I don't even know if it's totally sunk in for me yet. It meant a lot for those crew guys, but I can tell you where it sunk in with me was just realizing I know winning one drag race in Top Fuel doesn't rotate the earth and doesn't set the world on fire and create some historic moment in drag racing, but it does in motorsports as a whole to do what we've done. And I don't normally talk about what I've done because I just don't do it. I'm just not built that way. But this is kind of one of those moments where you sit there and you look at this and go, we did something that was history making this weekend. And I'm very, very proud of that to win an IndyCar championship, 3 NASCAR championships, the USAC Triple Crown, and now to win a Top Fuel race. There isn't, over the course in the history of motorsports, it has never been done. So to be the first person to do that is just, and keep adding to it. I mean, nobody's ever won an IndyCar championship and a NASCAR championship. So to be able to finally do that and be the first person to do it all, it really adds to the value of what that win felt like.
Man, and you're teeing me up. First of all, I'm proud of something. Look at this right here. I don't know if you recognize that. Hold on one second.
I don't have my glasses on. That's the bad part is I got to sit there with my glasses so I can see it.
Hold on. When I do these shows, I want things to look good. Tony Stewart, look at that.
That's
okay.
Awesome.
So my wife loves you to death. I think Eddie Jarvis got that for her. But, there's NASCAR. But I find that great athletes like yourself, when you win, and you just mentioned it, you're so happy for everybody around you because you win, you look at them and they're so jacked up. What was it like? Was your dad there? And I got that later. But to me, I want to go back to Pomona. Because Pomona ended up really like prime time. I don't know why, but it was like 7:30 St. Louis time, and there you are up against Clay Millican, and you smoked the tires. And the Tony Stewart I know, it appeared like that's the Tony I know. You were pissed, and they showed that moment where you were like this. And in my world, that you run second at Pomona.
Yeah.
And now here you are, and you win. Man, your time was coming. What started clicking with the team? Clutches. I don't even know what I'm saying, Tony. What made this car faster here lately?
So I'll take us back to the week of the Super Bowl. We had the Pro Superstar Shootout at Bradenton, Florida. So it's 2.5 days of testing, and then the race is 2.5 day event. So 5 days we were down there. We made 14 runs with the car, and it literally only made it down the track 3 times successfully. So 11 of 14 runs were aborted runs because it shook, it smoked the tires, something happened. And the guys went back with both trailers because Different than a NASCAR team or our sprint car team, we have 2 full semi trailers that have everything that we have to take to operate for the weekend. So they take all that back to Brownsburg, Indiana, totally yard sailed our program, our clutch program. So you're on it. You're smarter than you think you are on that one. That is where the magic happens, I feel like. I mean, that's where the majority of races are won or lost with the clutch program. So took it back, totally yard sailed it. We go to the very first NHRA race at Gator Nationals in March. We had 2 days of testing there, and then we had Saturday got rained out. So 2 rounds of qualifying. We lost on Saturday there, but total for the weekend, made 10 runs. The car went down the racetrack, 8 of 10 runs. It shook tires twice, but that happens in drag racing because you're pushing these things to the limit. So when it loses traction, it just loses traction. If it's a qualifying run, you just abort it. So moral to the story, though, is that our car was way better when we came back to Gainesville with the package they brought. Took that same package to the next race at Phoenix. It went down all but one run. And so feel like we're gaining on it and feel like we're on a path that's a good path. Go to Pomona, make it to the finals. And we weren't the fastest car, and we're still not the fastest car. We made it to the finals because our car went down the racetrack from A to B. So gaining this momentum and gaining a foundation that we could work off of. And then going to Vegas, we're going to have to start trying to now take this foundation we've got built and try to start pressing to make the car a little quicker, better ET, more mile an hour at the top end. We get to Vegas and it threw everybody in the field a curveball. The track conditions were not normal. It was very greasy feeling. And a lot of that's to do with the spray that they have to use. So they use a spray, and it literally, when they spray that and then they drag the tires across it, you walk out there, it is like walking on fly paper. It is that sticky. But there's multiple companies that make this glue. And kind of what we're finding out is that an event that they had in the fall at Las Vegas, it was a different company's glue that they used, and it just had different reactions to what it was doing to the racetrack. So it made the track extremely challenging to get down. I mean, you're used to seeing cars in Top Fuel running the mid 330s on a great run. A great run is if you got to 320 on a good run the other day, that was strong. So, we're having to back the cars way off to get them to go down the racetrack. Well, you would think to make the car go faster, it's harder to find the edge and to find that speed. For Top Fuel cars to back them off and have to back the power and to back the clutch settings off, it's way harder to back them off as far as we were having to back them off to go down the racetrack. So where we would sit there and say a hot, slick racetrack that's hard to get a hold of and dry, slick track that's hard to get, that's the hardest conditions. It's the opposite for us, but the same. When it's hot and slick, it's really challenging to get 11,000 horsepower to hook up on a track like that.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here, I'm looking at round one. You ran 3.864 at 321 mile an hour. So all that is interesting. And thank you for telling us that, because, I always, in NASCAR, it's like, man, you guys have been struggling. All of a sudden you won 3 in a row, and it's always got to do with the engineer. And let's keep it right here to this big win. You outrun the great Antron Brown. I mean, he's incredible. Justin Ashley and Jasmine Salinas. Did I say her right? Okay, good. So 4 wide. Is there only 2 tracks that are 4 wide? Is it Charlotte and Vegas?
Correct.
When you all unload, when you guys know you're going to a 4 wide in NHRA, do you all think it's a gimmick? Do you make fun of it, or do you go, hey, this is awesome?
I think it's a great question, because I think to the purist and the people that have been around drag racing for a long time, at first the 4 wide was a gimmick.
Yeah.
Our race has turned into, and
Bruton Smith.
But it is, and that's where Bruton has always been a visionary and thought outside the box. And Marcus does the same thing. I mean, look what Marcus did bringing the Roval to NASCAR. I mean, just thought of something different. That time of year in the fall, it's hard. And now we're going to go to Charlotte both times this year as a 4 wide race. The 4 wide in the fall hadn't had the same attendance that the spring race had. And a lot of that's college football starts, and, NFL's getting ready to start. So, Saturdays and Sundays, people are watching football again. And NASCAR fights the same thing. NASCAR sits there and fights. How do they combat that? So, They came to NHRA with the idea to make the 4 wide at Charlotte a fall race as well. So, but to have these two races, I think a lot of the drivers, I know for a fact, a lot of the drivers aren't huge fans of it. But I think it's because there's the sport of drag racing. You and I get in a cup car and we're still talking about with our buddies what we're going to have for dinner on the way home and this and that. But then we put our helmet on and we lock in and we do what we do. There is so much mental preparation that goes into staging the car and the procedure of firing up, doing the burnout, coming back, the cadence of that procedure, and being mindful of every 10 seconds the thing's burning a gallon of fuel. That's 10 pounds. Nitromethane is the heaviest fuel on the planet. And you burn a gallon of fuel, that's 10 pounds. Well, that's right at the front tires is where the fuel is. So you're changing the weight balance of the car every 10 seconds of every gallon of fuel that you're burning. So being mindful of time and the procedure and the cadence of the procedure is so big. Well, now you throw in, instead of just one guy that's in the other lane that you're pre-staging with and then staging with, and that routine, to now 4 drivers are doing this at the same time, and you got 4 pre-stage bulbs and 4 stage bulbs that come on, and the driver 2 and 3 sometimes get confused on which bulb they're looking at. It creates a level of chaos that they don't like.
Yeah.
They don't like being outside the normal. So for me, when I started, I started 3 years ago, the second to last race of the season, Las Vegas, and it was just a 2-wide race. I lose to Madison Payne by 1.5 inches, which I tell my wife 1.5 inches is that big, just for
I love it. You're my man.
But, you do that, and then literally we start the season with the alcohol team 2 years ago, and we go to Gainesville, we go to Pomona, then we go to Vegas, and we win the 4-wide there, and we win it by 2 inches. That's 2 inches to my wife.
Yeah, right.
So, and then we go to Charlotte, and I run her up to my teammate by literally 1.5 inches again. But I loved it. I fell in love with the 4-wides because of what my backgrounds are now. I feel like it's like going to a short track on Saturday night and you run 2 heat races and you got to finish in the top 2 in the first heat to go to the next heat. You got to finish in the top 2 in the second heat to go to the finals. And then the money's on the line in the finals. So I embrace it for that. The fact that it's chaotic to the other drivers a little bit and makes them a little uncomfortable, I feel like takes them from here to here. And because I embrace it and like it, brings me up to here and puts us on a level playing field. So I like the 4-wides. You always like something you win at, and having my first win at a 4-wide was pretty cool. And I even forgot that it was our first win, but literally 2 years later, here we are talking about winning our first top fuel race at a 4-wide at Vegas.
We're still going down the track right now at Vegas in this interview, and we're going to get to victory lane in a minute. But I want to go back to our first conversation 2 years ago. You said that you wanted to try drag racing because Leah was talking all these, idiosyncrasies, and you couldn't really understand it. And you said, I want to go to school so I can relate. Now, you just talked about something that reminded me of Leah. You said that you got to be rhythmatic because you're burning so much fuel. And when I watch Leah, it's like she does the exact same thing every time. She would high five her team or whatever. I mean, does Leah, you just talked about looking up at the cameraman. How many idiosyncrasies has she taught you so far?
Everything.
Wow.
Everything that I know about drag racing, I know from her. And there's times that I go over to Matt Hagan, who drives our funny car team for TSR also.
Yeah.
Sometimes Leah and I'll talk about something and I don't necessarily get it. And it might be just language wise. It may be the way she says it. And sometimes if I don't totally understand it, then I'll go over to Matt and say, hey, need a little help. I'm not totally grasping this yet. And Matt has a way. Matt can talk to me like he's watching an episode of Sesame Street.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, he knows I'm not very smart, so he can say it in a way that sometimes when Leah can't get me to understand it, I can go talk to Matt, and sometimes even Matt has a different angle on it that Leah hasn't thought of before. So having 2 teammates, it's like going back to high school when you and I, we like to screw around. We don't want to read a 250-page book. So what did? Go down to the bookstore, buy the 30-page Cliff Notes version that told you everything you needed for your test so you can act like that you read the whole thing. And I think it makes it great because I can use that and use Leah and Matt as the example. And uh, there's so many things that are involved, but there's things that are key elements to that, to doing it right. And when I started driving, even the alcohol car, I said, I don't want to do this to just do it. I said, if I do this,
Yeah.
I want to do it right. And then that transition from the alcohol to the top fuel car, I said, I had to sit her down again and go, listen, you know, I know what you said I did in the alcohol car was really good, but when we're doing this at this level with top fuel, not that top alcohol is not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I don't want to do it 98% of the way right. If I'm leaving 2% on the table somewhere, I want you to tell me where it's at so I can try to get that 2%. I don't want to leave anything because you can't with these guys. They're so good. So she's an excellent teacher. Um, she's been there from day one. And honestly, I mean, people don't realize driving the car when the light changes, driving the car to the finish line was probably one of the easier parts of this transition for me. It's all the mindsets, the thought process going into it. Um, I don't know what you were like before you'd get ready for a cup race. I'd go back to the motorhome after the drivers' meeting. I would start a movie that I knew I wasn't going to finish. I would
Mm.
not have the pre-race shows on because the more I watched it, the more amped up I got and more energy I got. And I didn't want to be that excited that quick. So I would do everything I could to just stay calm when I got in the car, knowing that we're going to be in there for 3.5 hours. Where drag racing now I'm finding out I have to do something different. I would ride with her in the tow vehicle and she's playing crazy rap music loud and I'm getting anxiety going, my God, I'm not even driving the car and it's about to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
But now I understand why she did it. She's trying to get her energy up. She's trying to get wide awake, alert, be on kill. Because you only have 3.5 seconds that this thing's going to go down the racetrack. And the most important thing you got to do is when that light changes, hit the gas.
Mm.
So now I'm having to go from leaning back and being half
Before the race.
now being trying to figure out how do I get like this. But I'm finding now too, and literally Pomona and Vegas, even after a full year of running this top fuel car, I'm kind of finding that balance because I tried the music thing. I tried playing it. I would play it real loud in the lounge when I'd change and stuff and get all excited, and then I'd get in the car and I'd relax again. So just trying to find that happy middle, and literally the last two events at Pomona and in Vegas this past weekend, I'm very calm in the trailer, but I'm very alert. I'm wide awake. I'm amped up, but in a calm way. And I'm kind of finding that groove that's working for me now. So, the crew guys are seeing that, and the cars going down the racetrack. The guys, the crew chief and co-crew chief, are doing a great job on making calls. And now we've made it to two final rounds in a row and got a win. So, we're definitely gaining on it. We have a lot of work to do. We don't have the fastest car out there. It can't run in the mid 360s to low 360s on a lapse time, and it's not going to run in the upper 330s on mile an hour at the end of the run. But it's consistent, and that does put pressure on these other teams, knowing that car goes down the racetrack. It's not.
Mm.
It's a coin toss whether it's going to go 365 at 338 miles an hour, or if it's going to spin the tires in 6 inches. So, but we definitely need to still work on making the performance of the car a little quicker. Now that it's consistent, we can start trying to make it faster and get a fast. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you want that ET. I don't care what the mile an hour says. If it says we ran 120 mile an hour at the line, I don't care as long as it makes a
Yeah.
fast ET. So that's what we're working on, is just trying to make the car quicker and trying to find the areas of the track that we can make that happen.
I find this very interesting because there was a time in the NASCAR Cup Series you and I went through where the doctor's coming around and they're putting this pulse on you before the start. Remember those days? And they're wanting to make, what is this guy's pulse? Is he jacked up on sun drop or is he calm? And I'm like you. I always caught myself, okay, start of the Daytona 500, start of Bristol. And I was always trying to calm myself down. But I want to give you a compliment. I'm not around you a lot, but the times I am around you, one thing that you've taught me, although I know you have a God-given talent and you're just flat ass good, you study everything to the maximum peak. I mean, I don't care if you're at the Rumble, a little, or a go-kart race. You're a good student, and it's like you want to learn everything. I think with your God-given talent, and then you study everything. I find that, and other people might study everything too. And I'm hearing this more and more, the Formula One is kind of creeping into NASCAR. These guys are going, I'm looking at tape but I think you've always been there. And I think that's why you have an edge. Two things, talent and you study. I just wanted to say that. And thank you for giving us an inside look at how Leah goes about it and how Tony goes about it. That's because when I see Leah, she's knocking the hell out of everybody and high-fiving and getting ready to go into the car. Okay.
And we do that too. I mean, when we're in the staging lanes and we get suited up, I mean, it's kind of a weird sequence because we normally have our uniforms up and we would crawl in the car, put our helmet and stuff on in the car. We can't do that in a dragster or funny car. So even when we get ready now, I've got my uniform around my waist and I'm putting my earbuds in, my head sock on, my helmet on, hooking up the radio wire, guys taping it because we've had it come out before. So he tapes that so it doesn't pull out. Then he gets the head sock laid on my shoulder, and then he takes my uniform and puts it on over top of all that to enclose it because, we don't worry about fires in NASCAR very often, but NHRA with nitromethane motors that are making over 11,000 horsepower, fire is a big deal. And even though you're in that capsule, that fire can still get in there. There's plenty of openings for that fire to get in. So, but that whole sequence of how we get dressed, and then going from there and fist bumping every guy on the crew. I walk around, I always make sure I grab the wheelie bar, make sure it's tight, make sure I see the wires going through the loops of the parachutes to make sure I know where the wires are. I tap the wing. I mean, it's just a whole sequence of things we do. My dad is there when he's at the track. He is in that line with those guys as he's one of those guys, and he fist pumps me. And Leah, we go by each other. We literally go by like this, and we high-five each other and then reach down and smack each other's butt on the way by. But we do it every time, and it's just part of the routine. So again, it's that consistency and that routine and keeping that mindset and doing the same thing every time. And so that's an important part of it. But yeah, there's guys. I mean, I watch Doug Coletta. He just goes and gets right in his car. He doesn't do all that. And I've seen Leah. I mean, she goes by. I finally quit doing that too. I'd get off to the side when she do the fist bump deal. She punches your hand when she does it. She gets amped up like that. But you take 10 drivers, they do 10 different things, but it is fun to watch how everybody has their idiosyncrasies about how to do everything.
Okay. So, you've won this race. It ricochets throughout, not the United States, but the world. And we're going to get to these accolades. I'm going to see if they're accurate, but okay. You get in victory lane. You're exhausted. You're breathing. I mean, my God, you just got done going 320 mile an hour in 3.8 seconds. That's insane. And this victory lane becomes very emotional. And you said it right, Tony. We just had this in NASCAR too. And mind you, I'm a fan of all of it. I love all of racing. But we just had this John Edwards who was with Jeff Gordon for 30 years. He really, I mean, he died, but it really affected the whole NASCAR world. And you said in victory lane, you said Rusty Rush from Rush Truck Center, his wife Jenny passed away. And then if that's not enough, you say 15 minutes before you get ready to go, you get another phone call from Brian Lanegraf that his father passed away. So my question to you is you have all this grief. And now we're talking about this. I mean, you had to focus. But it finally unloaded in victory lane. And you just said I guess you were at a funeral yesterday. Tell me about all this tough times for you and just people losing their life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously knowing John, and I've been around John obviously as well. I mean, we all are. We all know each other, and John was one of those guys that had a huge personality, and it's not easy to have PR guys that can handle guys like myself and Jeff Gordon and a lot of the big guys. I mean, we put a lot of pressure on our PR guys at times. But John was just a cool guy that everybody loved. I don't think anybody disliked him. You had Al Pierce, who was a great rider in NASCAR, and I don't think he ever had an enemy. I mean, he was always good to us. I always liked doing interviews with him. Losing him, I unfortunately didn't know the Truck Series owner. I think I'd met him one time, but I didn't know him at all. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you and I both know just anytime anything happens in the motorsports community, whether you know the person or not, they're still part of our racing family, and you feel the weight of that. So, to have those three guys on the NASCAR side, and then I'm actually getting suited up, and we've got the radio on of the hearing the broadcast from the booth and the tower, and I hear Dallas Glenn, who won the pro stock class, and he had someone that passed away and someone that got hurt really bad in a car accident. And I'm sitting there going, how much more can we all take? But I'll go back to when I got that message 15 minutes before we ran our final, before we went to the staging lanes, and Leah walked in, and I showed her the text message, and I'm just sitting there like, cannot believe this. And this shows you the strength of my wife that people don't realize. Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's a great race car driver. People don't give her enough credit for who she is as a person too. And I call her the Kevin Harvick of drag racing, because she can build a race team from scratch. She's done it before for one of her previous car owners. She can work on the cars. She can manage people. She understands the business side and how to take care of the partners. And she's a damn good race car driver, and drop dead gorgeous on top of that. What more could you ask for?
Right. Yeah.
And she got a little short on her husband here, but
hey, she got a little tomboy quality to her, man. She's right.
But she walked in when I showed her that message, and she handed me the phone back, and she looked at me and she goes, listen, you've been battling a battle. She goes, now you've got to go win this war now. You're at war right now. You've got to go win this war right now. You're not going to win a battle. You're going to win a war right now. And immediately in 10 seconds, she got my mind back on track where I needed to be. And I still had those other two in the back of my mind. And we had the Race Rudine Foundation. Kevin Rudine's a good friend of ours. He lost his son, Race, R-A-Y-C-E, lost his son at the age of 25 to a fentanyl overdose. And so having him on that car was not just a typical partnership. It wasn't like having Dodge or, Johnson's Horsepower Garage on there, or Renai water heaters. It was different. This is a foundation that's bringing awareness to fentanyl overdose and addiction, and what it means to help. Part of what this foundation does is help support the families. It's not just about the person directly involved. It's all the other people that are directly involved because of it. So having Kevin Rudine there, who's a good friend of mine, we both own sprint cars in the World of Outlaw series. All of this happening on a weekend where this is kind of a second home race for us. Vegas is 2 hours from Lake Havasu. So it's a West Coast home race for us. So we've got tons of people from Lake Havasu that are just fans, that some of them we know, most of them we didn't, that came to the race to support us. A lot of our friends from Lake Havasu came for the weekend. And then you've got all this other chaos going on. And Leah saying, you've got to get ready to go to war right now. And it resonated with me. And so when I got in the staging lanes, I heard Dallas Glenn's thing, and I had to remind myself, I'm getting ready for my war. He just won his war. I got to go win my war now. And that's the power that my wife has. I mean, she is unbelievable. She can take any situation and find the right way to frame it to get done what needs to get done. And she's a great speaker. She's a 10 times better speaker in public than I am, sponsors and everything. She's just amazing. But I value her as a person more than anything, and as my partner as well. So she got us in the right frame of mind. And you want to go after a race on Sunday night. You want to go celebrate with your guys and tear it down. And I'm getting older. I mean, when I get tore up, it's a couple days recovery versus a couple hours.
I don't even drink anymore. It's just not right.
I'm not a quitter. I can't. So God doesn't like quitters, bud. So
that's right.
But it was kind of a weird deal Sunday night. I mean, I was so excited to be with the team and realize and talking to them one-on-one just how much weight it took off their shoulders, but having to somewhat be a responsible adult and know that I was going to see a friend of mine that was having a bad time. I mean, Rusty sent me a message after we won, and it was hell yeah. And I could see his excitement that he normally has. And then the second to last line was, I had a really bad day today. And when you read that from one of your close friends like that, it doesn't take away from the victory, but it takes away from the celebration, but for the right reasons. I knew all week what he was going through. And it was at that moment after we won the race and got to spend some time with the guys, it was important to get prepared to go to San Antonio after that late at night and get less than 2 hours of sleep and get dressed and see my good my good friend Clint Boyer, who's very close to Rusty as well. And we're both there for a not good reason. And, to be there and support him. But it was kind of fun last night. You mentioned it earlier about the list, and I was reading the list that a couple people had created. And I don't even I don't think about that stuff on a daily basis. It's not who I am. I still feel like we're writing the chapters of the book, and we'll read the
We're
book
gonna get
when it's
we're
done.
gonna we're gonna get to it. I got it here. Let me just say this. Once again, another compliment. Years ago, like you say, you and Leah, you do the same thing. Okay, so I don't feel like a goofball either. But I saw something that said, "Your life will not change until you change your life." And I just want to say that you are a blessing to everybody that is a competitor, because you did a 180, friend. NASCAR's a big ass world, and you peeled out and you made this whole other world. You got married, you had a baby, you won in the biggest form. So thank you. And you're an inspiration to me because you changed your life. And I always say, man, when things ain't going right, change your life, because life goes pretty quick. So I just want to say congratulations.
I, I want to go with you on that for a second, because I get asked a lot of times. There's people that have been around racing for a long time, and we're not on the upswing of our career. We're up over the hill, and we're coming down the other side, and still enjoying what we're doing, and with the same intensity. But I get asked a little more frequent now, if I could go back, what would I change?
Mm,
And there's two big things. I mean, there was a race in New York that I wouldn't have went to, because I wouldn't have want. I don't ever want to have to go through what I went
mm,
through, what another family went through,
yep,
and I still get blamed for it all the time, daily, by people that have no clue what the hell they're talking about, and I still get blamed for something that was not my fault. So I
yes.
would not have went to that event. That's one of the two things that I would have changed in that. The other thing that I would have changed is definitely during my NASCAR career, and the majority of it, I would have loved to go back and treated people better. I
Mm,
was so intense with racing. I was so on edge all the time. There were a lot of things I didn't like about NASCAR. There were a lot of things I didn't like how they did things. I didn't like how a lot of it was done. But while I was there, I mean, all I cared about was winning races and what we had to do. And I was not a good person to people. I just wasn't. I mean, we had a lot of fans, and I was good to a lot of people, but there were a lot of people I wasn't good to also. And that is the single biggest thing, that if I could go back in time, that is the one thing that I would definitely change.
well, I love you, and I think that's awesome what you said. And I want to say something else. Now that we're just talking a little bit about this, we're still in Victor Lane, everybody. Right now, we just got down. We just got down to quarter, and we're still in Victor Lane. Um, one night late, at Bristol, I saw Kyle Busch, and I said, Kyle, I said, we got to talk, and it was towards the end. I said, since you and Samantha, Toyota would call her Sam. I said, since you and Sam are together now, you seem different. And he said, you know what was wrong with me, Herm? This is Kyle Busch. He said he'd win the race, and then 5 hours later, he was totally depressed because the high was over. And he said Samantha just helped him. Uh, do you think Leo has made you understand things more? Is that what you're? I mean, I'm not saying she did, or have you just come to peace with it yourself?
I think it's the same but different. I think what Leah's done for me is, you know, I think I was very similar to Kyle in that aspect of, but no matter what the outcome was, I mean, you race on Sunday, you don't race again until the next Sunday,
Yeah,
unless I was still in a sprint car racing on Friday and Saturday.
like Kyle
But
Larson.
yeah, but if it didn't go good on Sunday, it wasn't good when I got home Sunday. It wasn't good at home on Monday. It wasn't good on Tuesday. It wasn't good on Wednesday, all the way till you got a chance to fix it that next weekend.
Mm,
And if it went good, the sad thing was you'd get home Sunday night, and not just that 5 hours that Kyle's talking about, but 24 hours later, by Monday night, you're done celebrating, because you're already thinking about the next weekend and how do you do it again. Now you're not depressed about it, and you're not down about it because you had a good weekend, but you're already refocused on how do you do this again. And that's the mentality of professional race car drivers. That's all we think about. So I think for Kyle and for someone like myself, and when it pertains to Leah and I don't think that she taught me anything different, but she just gave me a reason to think about something other than that race car. And coming home with her after the weekends, win, lose, or draw, we talk about it, but there's a point where you get done talking about it, and then Monday you start being a partner again and being a husband again, and now being a husband and a father. And I think it's a great balance, even when you win the races. I mean, this morning, Leah waking up and feeding Dom in bed, and then having Dom sitting there in between us for a little while we're waking up and getting ready to hey, I wasn't thinking about that win in Vegas. I was thinking about my son, and
Yeah.
he looked over his shoulder like this, and he just smiled, and it's like time stops, and
He don't have a clue.
he doesn't know anything about a race car, and he doesn't really like to be in victory lane, but he was there. So, but yeah, I think that aspect of it that's where our, and your wife Kim, I mean, she's that balance for you. I mean, we all need that balance. But yeah, we're not wired right. We don't think right. And we get so obsessed with what we do. And it's no different. Successful business people are weird that way too. That's all they think about is that next business deal and how did they take what they have and make it better. So, it is a challenge. And I think having that significant other in your life changes that. I think for me, I got a bonus with it because my partner is a race car driver. She is so much like me 17 years ago. It's crazy. But if I'm upset, she understands why. And she knows that feeling of why you're upset. It's not, well, why are you so upset? It's okay. No, she knows, she gets it. So I think that's a huge thing for me. And I think to your point, that is what has helped me in this transition in my life is that I'm with somebody that truly understands me, truly gets it. There's other personality traits about us that make us who we are as a couple that I love. So, but definitely, I think it makes me better of wrapping my arms around what life is about.
Those last 10 minutes were a highlight. Okay, deep breath. This is something fun. And thank you so much, Tony. That was awesome right there. Okay, our first conversation, you said this, and I love it. I said, what's them G-forces like, Tony? And you said that the car took off and your brain was still at the start-finish line, so to speak. It's safe to say that now, are you with the car now, obviously? When do you feel like, do you remember a month, a year when I'm with the car now?
I think with the alcohol car, it took about 3 events to really start getting in tune with it. And it's a car that has 4,800 horsepower to close to 5,000 horsepower. Now I'm driving an 11,000, almost 12,000 horsepower top fuel car.
Insane.
And it's funny because my buddies in racing, they ask one of two questions. They want to know what the acceleration feels like, or their first question is they want to know what it feels like when the parachutes come out at the top end.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is I can tell them exactly what the second answer is. The first answer of what it feels like, how hard it accelerates, I really struggle with that because I am so focused on what the tires are doing and feeling the rear tires. Your eyes are watching where you're going and you're driving the car like you're supposed to, but your attention is so focused on hearing the motor, feeling the power of it, and mainly feeling what those rear tires feel like. Because if it chatters the tires, you got to be able, if it's in eliminations, you can slap it and get back in it. If it just spins the tires, you got to catch it quick because fuel does not compress. Air compresses, liquid doesn't. So if you spin the tires, it puts the cylinders out. So it's not firing the cylinders anymore and it's still pouring raw fuel in there. Well, it'll pour enough fuel in there that eventually that's when they go big boom. And that's $150,000 big boom when that happens. So it's really important to catch that. If it spins, you got to catch it fast so it doesn't do that. I have a hard time explaining the acceleration feeling. I can tell you that once we get to mid track, you're kind of through the, so to speak, danger zone of what the tires are going to do. It still can spin the tires late, but you're up and going. But it's kind of like you hear the motor, and the only way I can describe it is the motor gets up, and when the clutch starts pulling on it, you'll hear the RPM start coming down a little bit. And then when the clutch gets 1-to-1 and on the graph, you see it match the drive shaft. then it comes back up and follows the drive shaft. So it kind of sounds like, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but when you hear it pull the RPM down, it is, and gets 1-to-1 with the clutch, it's a gear change. When it's slipping the clutch, it's gear reduction. But when that clutch gets 1-to-1 and now you're 1-to-1 with the drive shaft and it starts accelerating, that's where it pulls the hardest.
So you're incredibly gifted with, that string from your brain to your ass to your foot, and you're so good at dirt racing. Do you want to win a pedal fest where both of you are smoking? It's what I'm hearing is that you want to win a pedal fest. You want both of you to smoke the tires and you beat them.
That's what I tell everybody. I tell them all the time. I'm like, I wish every week, every round was a pedal fest, because that's where literally I feel like 90% of the talent and skill that I've had my entire career and how I made my money in motorsports, 90% of it doesn't even apply in a drag car. Yeah. But that 10% that does apply is when it spins the tires and you got to catch it, and you got to roll back in the throttle to not shear it loose again. That's the anomalies that throw everybody off. And there's some guys that are really good at pedaling the cars. I feel like Pomona, perfect example. Round 1, I go up against Billy Torrance, beat Billy, had to pedal it. We both shook the tires. We were first pair, both shake the tires. I pedaled it, got back in it, run to the end and win the race. Justin Ashley was in the pair right behind me in my lane. And because he's got the best view of it, he's sitting in his car right behind the next run, and he watches me go down. Well, he wins the next thing, and they're waiting to interview me at the top end for Fox. And Justin gets out of his car and he walks over with his helmet on still, and he goes, "You're going to have to teach me how to pedal a car that good."
I love it. He went to school.
The one moment where I had the best comeback that I didn't get to use, I said, "Well, go race a sprint car for 20 years, and I promise you'll be able to do it." Yeah. What I should have said is, "You teach me how to leave with 30s and 40s like you are on the light instead of my 60s and 70s, and I'll teach you how to pedal it," because he's the best lever in the class. He's got the best reaction time average of anybody. So, but when you hear your peers sit there and come there and go, "Man, I wish I could do that," that's the ultimate compliment.
Well, you have a gift. There's no doubt. Okay, everybody. It took us 50 minutes. And we got past victory lane, and it's time for us to relax, Tony, and have a little bit of fun. Want to talk about some of the things that people are trying to say, in a good manner. Let me just start like this, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Tony Stewart is a 3-time NASCAR Cup champion as a driver, and 1 as a car owner. And that was with that Kevin Harvick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're an IndyCar champion. You're a 4-time USAC champion. Are we missing any more championships?
You're off to a good start. Keep going.
No, I don't. You know what? I just did my best. You've done so much, and that's where I need you to. We're talking. We get some good views on Kenny Conversation, and listen, I got a whole nother list here. This is just championships.
So add SRX.
Oh my God. Okay. IROC. Yeah. That's a lot already.
Aside from that, just go-kart, a WKA championship in go-karts, and
it counts.
National. So I would say the point championship was the WKA one, though, but that covers the championships.
Okay. Totally off cuff here. But I remember you telling me, you just mentioned WK kart championships. One thing I've learned about you is you don't make fun of any kind of racing. And I still go back to when you were injured bad and you went to Stefan Johansson's go-kart track in Indy, and you said that is where you got your strength back. So anybody that's listening, I know one thing about you, Tony, and I would never put words in your mouth, but you, my friend, taught me that all racing is serious. It's competition.
Because whoever's putting everything they got into it. I mean, they're putting 100% effort into it. They're putting 100% of their resources into it. And when guys like you and I, when we're not doing that full time and we go run some other division like that, we're not the favorites. We're the underdogs, because they know the tracks, they know the cars they're driving, they know the characteristics, they know tire fall off, they know how the groove's going to change. we have to come in there as the ringers, so to speak,
and learn.
they think if we're bigger that we're always better. Well, it's not always that way. You're
They
running,
saw us on TV.
yeah. And they think that it's just automatic that we're supposed to beat those guys. And I keep trying to tell everybody, you don't realize how hard any class of racing is, from go-karts all the way to the top. So, but just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's better. It's hard all the way through.
Okay, so we're just going to reread that. Tony is a 3-time NASCAR Cup champion. One is a car owner with Kevin Harvick there, Stuart Haas, IndyCar championship, 4 USAC championships. I'm thinking, my God, that had to be gnarly in all that. SRX champion, IROC. All right, switching gears. Now, this is the other one, and I know you've probably seen it, and I'm going to read it right off my phone. Don't know who this was, but I thought it was badass. Tony Stewart's win in NHRA Top Fuel today adds an additional achievement to the most diverse driver in history. Tony Stewart has won in NASCAR Cup, NASCAR Xfinity, NASCAR Truck, ARCA, IndyCar, Sprint Car, Midgets, Silver Crown, IROC, SRX, NHRA Top Fuel Dragster, NHRA Top Alcohol. But then somebody last night said he won in a modified or something. So what are we? I see that eating grin on your face.
So we could go back to sprint car, because I won in 410 wing sprint cars, 360 wing sprint cars, 410 non-wing sprint cars.
And those are big differences.
Vastly different. Nobody put dirt late model.
Oh, dirt late model is a big one.
Pavement late models.
Yes.
With Randy Sweet.
This is great.
Super modifieds. So the big offset super modified.
Like Oswego? You won in
not an Oswego car, but I won the copper. I didn't win the Copper Classic. I won at Madera in a super modified.
You've done it all.
Modifieds.
Yes, my modifieds.
Big block modifieds.
Ooh, center steers.
Modifieds.
Damn.
I won an IMCA modified race at IRP one night.
Kyle Larson got a long way to go. He really does. And I don't know if he'll have enough time.
Well, this conversation's come up a lot lately, because there's been a lot of controversy with Formula One and Kyle Larson and everything. What Kyle Larson's done that's different than me is he hasn't ran all those different types of cars and hasn't won races in them. But the cars he has ran, he's done big things in. I mean, he's a Cup champion. Yeah. He's won the Knoxville Nationals. I ran the 360 Knoxville Nationals and couldn't get out of the D main. So I mean, I was okay. I won some 360 wing sprint car races and 410 races, but not like Kyle Larson does. I've won dirt late model races. He's won a couple dirt late model races, but he is so good in an era where things are so much more competitive, equipment wise and talent wise. But he's in a smaller genre. He runs 3 or 4 different types of cars, but when he does do it, he's very, very good at it. I have no doubt if he had the time to run all the other stuff that he would be good at all those too and would figure it out. But it is really hard to do that. I was way outside the box from everybody else. Everybody got in this mode of, they wanted to be a NASCAR Cup champion. So what do? You get up, you start driving go-karts, you start driving Legends cars and Bandoleros, and then you move to the pavement late model at Hickory, and then you go around an ARCA car or a K&N car, and you just work your way up the path. I was all over the place. I mean, while I was learning how to drive an Indy car and a Busch Series car in 96 on the same year as a rookie, I was running pavement IMCA modifieds, dirt late models, midgets, sprint cars. I was still running all of it while learning how to try to drive these other cars. So I just never focused on one thing. I am a big believer and beat the drum that the more seat time you can get in anything is valuable to a driver, because as you go up through the ranks, you're going to be learning new cars. Well, if you can't adapt to that, you're not going to be successful. So through the process, if you're running a different car all the time and having to adapt to it, you're already half the way there. You're learning how to be attentive to what the car is telling you versus saying, this is the feel I like. This is what I'm looking for. Well, you may not get it with a certain type of car. You may not get that feel. So you have to be able to learn how to adapt and figure out what the car is telling you that it wants and figure out what you have to do with your hands and feet inside that car to make it happen. So I'm a big believer in that.
On this same conversation, I know that you have great peripheral vision. You watched Rick Hendrick allow Kyle Larson to go back and run sprint cars. We've just watched your old boss, Joe Gibbs, has now allowed Christopher
I
Bell.
know. And I want to go choke him out because it was like almost fist fights with each other. We never got that part, but I mean, we would literally argue and fight over me going and running a late model on a Friday night. It's crazy, but I'm very appreciative that we're now in this form of motor or this era of motorsports where these other car owners are seeing the value in it and finally realizing that what I said 25, 30 years ago is right, that this is valuable for these guys to do this.
Yeah, and this is just a racer in me. I just can't get over how Christopher Bell got in that, World of Outlaw sprint car. And he reminded us that, he's just not good at the Chili Bowl. I mean, he kicked ass at Volusia and out there in Vegas. I mean, I had no idea how good Christopher was in a wing car. And you were the innovator, my friend.
I remember sitting in the motorhome at Atlanta one night with Kyle Larson, and we were watching the Western States race. I think it was sprint cars and midgets at Calistoga, California, and he was real excited about it. I'm like, why are you so excited about a regional race? Yeah, we're race fans. We want to watch a race, but he was really amped up about watching it. And he goes, you need to watch this guy. And I'm like, well, who is it? He goes, Christopher Bell. I'm like, never heard of him. He goes, he's better than me.
Wow. Yeah. And now he's saying that about Corey Day.
Yep.
He's saying about Corey Day. That this is good stuff because I feel like, obviously there was, and by the way, you quickly returned my text. I went and saw AJ Foyt. It was totally, I was obsessed with it. I saw this special on Flow and I got a hold of him and I drove up to Indy. But anyway, my point is I spent 6 hours with AJ and man, oh man, is he gnarly. Whoa. Yeah. I knew AJ when I was changing tires on Rusty's USAC car. And I was a little, but we had a good time. But, before him, I don't know, was there Parnelli Jones or AJ Foyt and Kenny Schrader than Tony? And, there's this very small list, maybe on 5 or 10 fingers. And I feel like you're in, now Kyle, but man, I just had to go through that list. Tony, thank you for going through that list of cars. And it led to a little bit different conversation, which was still fun. Okay. We are coming to the end here, but there's something else we got to talk about. Your social media. I liked it. They said, I deemed you Mr. Las Vegas, and help us finish this too, if we're wrong, but on X, your social media team listed that you have wanted everything at Vegas. And listen, it's just easy. I'm going to read it right off their social media for everybody that's listening, because this is going to be on Dirty Mo podcast, Tony. Dale Jr. gave me a call. So we're on YouTube, but we're also on Dirty Mo podcast. So Tony Stewart is Mr. Las Vegas, and here's why. And I'm going to read it right off your X site. Tony Stewart has won an event on all of the tracks at Las Vegas Motor Speedway property. The drag strip, the 2025, the one you just did, NHRA 4-wide Nationals, and the 2023 Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series and Top Alcohol Dragster. The dirt track, his first USAC Silver Crown event on October 18th, 1997. And I know your mind is going right now, so here we go. Las Vegas Motor Speedway captured his 1997 IndyCar championship and earned the 2012 NASCAR Cup Series event win. I almost need a drink because we're still going here. The Las Vegas, yeah, you take a drink. Now we're going to go over to the Las Vegas Bull Ring pavement short track. You won in a USAC Nation midget in 2002 and also won in a sprint car in the same night. And finally, and the dirt track Las Vegas Motor Speedway won the 2010 Las Vegas Sprint Car Nationals. Holy crap. I mean, does gambling go that good for you too out
No,
there?
God, no. I'm way better driver than I am at gambling, but no, we've
Is
had a
that
lot
right?
of luck. That is right. We won a wing sprint car race at the dirt track. We won our first Silver Crown race at the dirt track, the IRL Championship, and one Cup race at the Cup track. The midget and sprint car at the Bull Ring that night, and now 2 races on the drag strip. So they go, yeah, we're going to Vegas. I just smile.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I love that. Okay. I know last time we talked, you kind of taught me. You said, Herm, we don't need to end, but I want to thank your whole organization for taking out time, and I want to come
Well,
down to
for
the
the
end.
record, you and I had this organized first. I just screwed it up by winning the race on Sunday, and then we
Yes.
gotta do a whole media day now, so we had to shoehorn.
I told Charlie, I said, Charlie, isn't this crazy time? And I asked Tony if he would come on last week. And Charlie and I were dreaming of having you for the 100th, and we're airing this right away. Okay. Your father, Nelson, listen, when we all grew up, my dad was rough around the edges. My dad would, if I didn't, and then I wasn't great, right? But if I didn't do real good, dad was like, why? And then older my dad got, I loved him more. So with that being said, your dad, Nelson, and Charlie is going to edit this up real quick, and he's going to drop pictures in right now. This picture just makes me smile because your father is very nice to me. But there's this picture out there right now with you, your father, Nelson, your wife, Leah, and your newborn, Dominic. That whole picture, has your father changed now with this new drag racing world, but especially with Dominic?
He's always, once I started going to the drag races with Leah, he started coming to him.
Oh,
And he wasn't a big drag race fan. He liked it, but he, same as me. It's like we liked it, but we never went to one. So when I started dating Leah, he started coming to a couple events and he liked it. And then obviously when I started running the Top Alcohol Dragster, he came a lot more because he got to watch his son run. He got to watch his daughter-in-law run. And then when I started running Top Fuel, he came to even more races last year. And we ran a regional race at Norwalk, Ohio. And he came to that event and he sat down with me and he goes, I don't think, he's 80. He just turned 87, April 4th, and still drives a race car.
He looks good, man.
Drives a 3/4 midget, which we didn't add to your list. You can put that at the bottom of the list.
That's the Tony Stewart I know.
And, but he told me, he goes, I don't think I'm going to run all the TQ races next year. And for years, my sister Natalie and I've been sitting there going, what do we do? Do we let him keep racing? Do we not? And we kind of came to the agreement that as long as he's not a weapon and he's not tearing up, if he's tearing his own stuff up, so be it. If he's tearing somebody else's stuff up, then we might have to intervene. But we've just kind of came to the agreement that until that point happens, you got to let him race, man. I mean, the worst thing we could have happen is take him out of his race car.
Yeah.
So to hear him say that kind of caught me off guard. Well, I'm still in the middle of the race day, and we're getting ready for semifinals, and ended up making the finals, but it caught me off guard. And then I was driving the motorhome home after the event, and I was like, man, I know exactly why he's done this. It's not about he doesn't want to race as much, because he goes, I want to come to more of your races next year. And I couldn't put it together. Well, this is in July, I think, when we were up there, or August, and just couldn't really understand why he wanted to do that. And I'm driving the motorhome back, and the light bulb clicked on. I went, this has nothing to do with him wanting to come watch me race more next year. He wants to be around his grandson more.
That's awesome.
Come to more races. So that moment, and I'm going to send you a video. I'm going to send you a video that will be perfect for that, to tell you what my dad is like now. It's him running to find me, because they bring you back after you win the race. They do the top end interview, and the winners spray champagne off the stage. There's nobody up there. It's just for the camera guys. And then they put you in the back of a pickup truck and they bring you down the racetrack in front of the crowd and everything. And they've got this little aluminum stage they set up on the track, and they invite all the race fans down to be a part of the celebration. And did the interview, and Leah comes up with Dominic, and I mean, I'm a wreck. I was about a show because I'm trying to not cry. I'm like trying to be manly and excited, holding my trophy up like everybody else does. And then here comes my wife and my son, and I'm like,
lost it. True emotion.
So after that, they take us and take us right to Victory Lane to do the photos. And my dad couldn't figure out where I was at, and I just got the photo of my dad running in cowboy boots on a sticky racetrack because on flypaper. He's running in cowboy boots to find me to give me a hug. So he still does care that I win, but trust me, when he's there, he wants to see his grandson more than anything, I think.
Oh man, this is fantastic. Well, Tony, your PR lady has been gracious. She said it's time to go. I want to thank you, but one last quick question. We don't got to go into details. I just got to get this in. It's at the very end. When is Leah getting back in Top Fuel, or is she?
I think you're going to see her get in. I know for a fact she's going to test some this summer to get back in the car. We recently just started having these conversations. Obviously, took the year off last year to be pregnant and have our son Dom, but taking off this year, I was ignorant. I'm such an I'll use the R word on myself on this one, on what it takes for a woman to get back going again after having a baby. I had no idea because I've never been a part of it, never been around it. But her and I had the conversation of, does she get back in this year? And she will tell you that after being at the track and the responsibility she has with the race team, that just doing that and taking care of Dom is a full plate without driving the car. So she took this year off. Yeah. We have started the conversations of when is she coming back and all that, and what does that look like? The crazy thing, and this is part of why I love my wife, I'm worried about her I want to get her back in her race car. I know she's happy driving her race car. My wife cares more about the fact that she's going to kick me out of the race car and that I'm not going to have something to drive. And she knows that if I'm not driving something, I'm less happy as a person. Yeah. And so my wife's trying to debate whether she wants to kick me out of the race car or not so she can drive it just to keep me happy. And I love her for that. But I quickly put my foot down as her husband and said, this is your race team. This is why we started this. I will find something to drive. So don't worry about that. Let's get to her part. So we don't have an answer yet. The official part is we don't have an answer yet. We are talking about it. It is official that she is going to test this summer, which I love. I mean, I made her do the warm-up at Phoenix. And I remember when the warm-up was over in the pit and she shut it off, she took her mask off and she looked at me and she goes, you might have regretted that. And I'm sitting there going, that's what I wanted to hear. I want that pass from my wife to get in the race car again. But yeah, I'm not excited about potentially getting fired at the end of this year or next year or whenever it is. But at the same time, I'll find something. But I want to see my wife drive a race car again. I love watching her drive.
Why do I think about this complete John Force Racing family? You know, John, his daughters. I think you and Leah could set NHRA on fire. Could you see that husband and wife in the finals? It can happen easily.
Yeah.
You too.
You're thinking of the cool part of it. You're not thinking of the part of this. Because this is where my head is. We make the finals. Yeah. And I win the race, and I don't even feel like I could celebrate on there because immediately, as soon as I get out of the car, I'm going to get a notice saying, you get to sleep on the couch for an undisclosed amount of time. We don't know how long you're going to sleep on the couch. Or the other way, if I lose and she's celebrating, my phone's going to blow up and all my buddies are going to go, ha ha, you got your ass kicked by your wife today. Yeah. So there is a no-win situation for me, but we even talked about that in the conversation. It would take a lot. Financially, it would take a lot to start a third team. And we currently don't have a building big enough to do it. We could add on to our building and do it, but it just takes a lot. But she has assured me that that's what her wishes would be, is that we get to race against each other. And she has promised me with a pinky swear that it would not be held against me no matter what the outcome of the race is. So part of me kind of looks forward to potentially having that opportunity down the road as well, hopefully. But first and foremost, I want to see my wife back in her race car.
Yeah, I'm a dad of 3 girls, and we'll end like this. Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney, The ladies are incredible, and in NHRA, and I love them all. They're such badasses, and just like Leah is, she's a complete badass. All right, everybody, look, if you want to see Tony Stewart's pretty face, you can watch it right here on the Kenny Wallace YouTube show. But if you want to listen to this while you're driving, we are on the Dirty Mo podcast. And Tony, thank you so much.
I'm glad to be with you, my friend. I always love talking to you, and definitely love hanging out with you away from the racetrack too. We get to be us and have a lot of fun together.
Until the next Kenny conversation, goodbye, everybody.